it does feel like, for a lot of the guys in this squad, the big players, they are at their peak. No, they're the optimum moment to go and perform on the very highest level. A lot of them have shown it with their clubs, so there's no reason for them not to do it with Scotland. But with that comes a pressure, and they need to go and deliver. Certainly in this first game, it's all right me bumming up Haiti and saying they'll be dangerous. Scotland will still be heavy odds-on favourites to win this game, and of course that brings a pressure. But these players, they should be able to deal with that. They need to go and get
100%, 100%, and I'm sure they will. And you say no excuses. I mean, even the fact that the training facility that we were at yesterday, you look at how they're getting treated. They're getting lifted and laid, and rightly so. They're top level athletes, and they're being treated like that, which is the first time in a long time. I think if you go back through the years, Scotland players always moaned and groaned about bad hotels and cheap transport, and it was like, do you know what, guys? Here's a shirt, and I think the vast majority of punters out there would agree. You get a chance to wear a Scotland shirt, you don't care what sort of bus you're travelling in or what the flight's like. You're getting a chance. But football's moved on. Everything's moved on. These guys are used to the top level treatment at their clubs. They're used to the best of facilities. They're used to the best of everything. And that means there's no excuses, because the SFA, and everybody gives them a hard time. I'm particularly on the front foot with the SFA. But I have to commend them on this. They've pushed the boat out here. They've given us everything that we need to prepare and get ready. Steve Clarke's delighted with it. I congratulate him, because I do know he played a huge part in getting the SFA, reluctantly, albeit or through gritted teeth, to pay up, to give him the best of the best. And he deserves that, because he's qualified us for 2 tournaments. This is the third. He's raking in money that we weren't raking in for 20 odd years. So we should be spending what we're accumulating to make sure that we give ourselves the optimum opportunity here. And I think, credit to the SFA, they've done it. But Scott is right. His base point there is absolutely spot on. There can be no excuses.
Absolutely. Alan says in the comments, Scotland will win our first 2 games, then we'll be playing our reserves against Brazil. But we've had some rather less cheery ones. David says, if that mob beats us the first game, Clarke should be sacked on the spot. And Tone...
After signing a 4-year contract. one game into his 4-year contract.
Tone rather helpfully says, send a postcard home the day of the first game, see who arrives home first. That the team. Just for that, Tone. The last thing though on that is just Sean summed it up well, says we better not sit back, wait for something to happen like we did at the last Euros. I think that's a feeling among a lot of the Tartan Army. Whatever happens, let's
That's a great point. Valid point.
Listen, it's a feeling. It's not just the Tartan, it's everybody. I remember feeling so disappointed after the game against the Germans, the opening game at the Euros, for that exact reason. Is that, okay, we accepted that Scotland went into the first Euros 2020-21. We accepted that, we're the new guys in the block here. This was a new experience. There was an element of, listen, we're just delighted to get here because we had to get in through the back door. But so for us then to compound that by failing to take the handbrake off in the last tournament, that was so disappointing. And that's why I think Steve Clarke has a job in his hands winning, a large chunk of the Scotland support background, because they blame him. They blame him for being too cautious, too negative. And I can't blame any support for saying any of that, because I wrote it all at the time after we got ejected from the tournament and sent in the first plane out. It was actually a frustration that was building into a bit of anger, because you're thinking, we're better than this. Why are we playing like that? Why are we so cautious? And then you're looking at other teams that are playing in the tournament, and they're not giving a toss. They're running about going 4-4-2, wingers, crosses. And we looked, our players looked as if they'd been overcoached to the point they were scared to move half a yard in the wrong direction, because it might kind of put a hole in the system that Steve Clarke had designed for them. We can't be like that. We need to be a lot more confident in ourselves. Steve Clarke needs to be a lot more trusting in his players. But I think that's where we're at. Listen, I might be entirely wrong, But I think that's what this journey has been all about. I think Steve Clarke, if he puts his hand in his heart, would accept that all those criticisms were completely valid after the last Euros. And what I find it gives me enthusiasm is the fact that Steve Clarke's mentioned himself. The players are raging. They're still raging about how they performed at the Euros. Steve Clarke is raging. I think they've all realised, guys, we are so much better than this. Any chance we can go to a tournament and show it?
Well, you can't say on one hand we've got one of the best groups we've ever had. Guys playing in Serie A, guys playing the Premier League, Scott McTominay, Ballon d'Or. Well, this is brilliant. And then you turn up at a tournament and don't let them play.
Exactly right.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly right.